The first sign of trouble at Thornbury Manor was the sound of the iron gates unlocking hours before noon. Clara Penhaligon froze in the reading room, a half-read volume of poetry open in her hands. The October sun slanted through the tall windows, casting soft gold patterns on the polished floors. Normally, the gates stayed shut until noon. Normally, nothing disturbed the quiet rhythm here, but today felt different. Before we continue, if this story has already drawn you in, I invite you to support the channel by liking this video and subscribing. It allows these quiet Victorian tales to reach others who value depth and timeless storytelling. And if you're willing, do leave a comment telling us where you're listening from. It is always a pleasure to see how far these stories travel. Mrs. Augusta Ashford, the Dowager Duchess whose companion Clara had been for 2 years, sat in her velvet chair across the room. At 73, she looked as firm and sharp as the ancient stones of the estate. Her dark eyes held the confidence of someone who had spent a lifetime issuing commands no one dared ignore. "Stop reading," she said. "That poetry has grown dull." Clara closed the book with quiet relief. The verses had been overwrought, full of fainting heroines and oblivious lords. "Shall I ring for tea, ma'am?" "In a moment," Mrs. Ashford replied, tilting her head to study her. "Tell me, child, what has changed in the house today?" Clara knew this was a test. The Dowager enjoyed testing her, not from cruelty, but from a sharp curiosity. Clara let her eyes sweep the room, gathering details. "The green guest room stood open this morning," she said. Fresh flowers filled the entry hall, though none bloomed outside yet, and cook prepared meals that simmered for hours. Mrs. Ashford smiled, small but pleased. "Good. My grandson arrives this evening." Clara's breath caught. The Duke of Ravenwood was coming today? He was not expected until Christmas. "I summoned him," Mrs. Ashford said. Clara pressed her fingers together to steady them. She had met Alistair St. Clair 3 years ago, on her first day as companion, a penniless distant relative with 1 trunk and no family. He had strode past without a glance, which was understandable. He was the Duke of Ravenwood, master of a ruthless shipping empire, a man the newspapers called icy for his cold control and impossible standards. Since then, Clara had blended into the shadows of the grand halls, useful but unseen, her simple gowns a perfect camouflage. Mrs. Ashford continued, "I wrote to tell him I have chosen his bride. I will not wait any longer. He is 31. Clara kept her face calm, though her stomach twisted. Over the last month, polished young women had visited Thornbury Manor, ladies of wealth and title. One, Georgiana Blackmore, had seemed perfect, beautiful, certain, born to command admiration. Clara lowered her gaze. "That is good news, ma'am." "Is it?" Mrs. Ashford asked. "You do not look pleased." "I am pleased with whatever makes you happy," Clara replied. Mrs. Ashford huffed. "You lie well, but not well enough. Go ring for tea and change for dinner. Wear the blue dress. The gray makes you look a ghost." Clara obeyed, though a heavy dread pressed her chest. The blue dress was her finest, a gift from the dowager last year, its lace whispering of occasions she could scarcely imagine. The afternoon passed in familiar tasks, letters, tea, a slow garden walk, but Clara's mind raced. She pictured Alistair's return. Tall, dark-haired, gray eyes sharp as steel, his presence a storm of precise energy. As the sun set, word came from the footmen. The Ravenwood carriages had arrived. The great hall buzzed with nervous energy. Servants straightened uniforms. Lamps glowed brighter. Doors swung wide. Mrs. Ashford stood tall in black silk and diamonds. "He will resist," she said, "but I always win." Then Alistair St. Clair entered. He filled the doorway like a storm rolling in, broad-shouldered, dark hair neat, gray eyes cold and assessing. He removed his gloves with clean, precise movements that signaled a man who demanded control and yielded none. "Grandmother," he said, kissing her cheek. "You came," she replied. "You summoned me," he corrected. "I hope this matter is brief." "Not at all," she said. "We will speak after dinner." Dinner concluded in the great hall, tension lingering like smoke. Mrs. Ashford led them to the sitting room, her diamonds glinting under candlelight. Alistair followed, his expression a mask of impatience. Clara trailed behind, the blue dress feeling like a spotlight on her skin. "Sit," the dowager commanded, gesturing to the velvet settee. Alistair obeyed, though his posture remained rigid. "Grandmother, enough games. Why summon me?" Mrs. Ashford's smile sharpened. "No games, boy. You will marry, and I have chosen your bride." She turned to Clara, who stood frozen by the fireplace. "Clara Penhaligon will be the next Duchess of Ravenwood." Alistair's eyes widened, then narrowed to ice. "Her? The companion? 1 week," Mrs. Ashford pressed. "Spend 7 days under this roof with her. Refuse, and your inheritance passes to your cousin Edmund. I hold the papers." Clara's heart hammered. Alistair's gaze cut to her, furious and disbelieving. The room closed in, the dowager's trap sprung tight. He had no choice. Alistair stormed into the sitting room the next morning, boots echoing on marble. Clara sat quietly mending lace, but rose at his entrance. Mrs. Ashford watched from her chair, expectant. "You," he said, voice like cracked whip, "expected to wed the help? A girl with no name, no dowry." Clara flushed, hands trembling. "Your Grace, I never sought." "Silence!" He paced, jaw clenched. "Grandmother's puppet show ends now. I marry for alliance, not charity." Mrs. Ashford interjected coolly. "The week begins. Dismiss her if you dare, but the estate suffers." Alistair whirled on Clara. "Pack your things. Your services are no longer required." Tears pricked her eyes, but she lifted her chin. "I offer my resignation, Your Grace. Free you from this farce." She curtsied, turning to leave, humiliation burning her cheeks. His rejection echoed through the hall, final as a locked gate. dawn light filtered through frost-laced windows as Clara entered the breakfast room. Alistair already sat at the long oak table, newspapers spread before him. Silence fell thick as stone, broken only by clinking silver. Servants hovered, eyes downcast. Clara took her seat at the far end, buttering bread with forced calm. Alistair's fork scraped his plate, each sound amplified. Minutes stretched. Finally, he cleared his throat. "Miss Penhaligon." His tone was stiff, eyes on his coffee. "My words yesterday exceeded necessity. You are blameless in grandmother's scheme." Clara glanced up, startled. "No apology required, Your Grace." "Yet offered." He met her gaze briefly, then returned to his paper. The ice thawed a fraction, though the air remained chilled. She nodded, sipping tea, the fragile truce hanging between them like mist over the Hudson. Breakfast ended without further words, but the silence felt less hostile. Afternoon found them in the map room, parchment estates unfurled across the table. Alistair traced tenant boundaries, brow furrowed. Clara assisted silently, handing inkwells and rulers. "This flood-prone stretch," he muttered. "Repairs overdue." Clara leaned in, pointing. "The lower fields drain poorly after rain. Servants reroute ditches last spring. Saved the barley crop." He paused, surprised. "You know this." "I've walked the lands, spoken with them." Her voice was steady. A footman entered then, grinning. "Miss Clara advised the planting rotation, my lord. Bumper harvest." Alistair studied her anew. Quiet influence woven through the staff like threads in tapestry. She fetched another map without fanfare, her intelligence shining unbidden. For the first time he saw beyond the companion's shadow, a woman attuned to the estate's pulse. The room warmed with reluctant respect as plans took shape. If this tale has stirred your curiosity, a simple like and subscription is most appreciated. And if you wish, share in the comments where you are listening from. Now let us return to the story. Thunder cracked over Hudson Valley as rain lashed Thornbury Manor. Alistair burst from the house, shouting orders. "Secure the stables. Tenants to higher ground." Clara overheard from the hall, horror dawning. The river swelled, threatening families downstream. "The Millers have infants," she whispered, grabbing cloaks. "You stay," Alistair barked, mounting his horse. She defied him, sprinting to the stables. "They'll drown without aid." Mounting a mare, she galloped ahead, directing farmhands to ropes and boats. Waves roared as she waded into torrent, pulling children from flooded cottages. Alistair arrived, stunned, joining the frenzy. Her skirts sodden, Clara hauled the last tenant to safety, a boy clinging to her neck. Lightning split the sky. "Foolish bravery," Alistair growled, wrapping her in his coat. Dozens saved, but the storm raged on, Clara's defiance etched in his memory. Rain hammered the groundskeeper's cottage as they sheltered, drenched and shivering. Tenant families huddled nearby, safe but shaken. Alistair stripped his soaked coat, handing it to a child. Clara wrung out her hair by the fire, exhaustion lining her face. He watched her, the blaze casting shadows. You could have died out there. I couldn't leave them. Her eyes met his, fierce. He stepped closer. I've been blind, Clara, seeing only status, not strength. His hand cupped her cheek, thumb tracing raindrops. She stilled, breath catching. Then he kissed her, fierce, urgent, tasting of storm and revelation. She melted into him, hands on his chest. The world narrowed to that spark amid chaos. Thunder rolled outside, but inside truth broke free. He pulled back, gray eyes alight. Forgive my blindness. They returned to the manor, muddied and weary, to find a carriage at the doors. Georgiana Blackmore swept in, silver gown shimmering, flanked by her parents. Alistair, darling, your grandmother invited us. Mrs. Ashford greeted them coolly. Georgiana's eyes raked Clara, lip curling. The companion leads rescues now? How quaint, though floods suit mud on riffraff. Clara stiffened, but Alistair's arm brushed hers protectively. Dinner loomed with family pressure. Georgiana's father touting alliances, her mother dangling dowries. She's perfect for you, they pressed. Georgiana leaned in, voice honeyed venom. Not some penniless shadow playing heroine. Marry properly, Alistair. His jaw tightened through the meal, Clara's heroism fresh in mind. The rival's arrival sharpened the air, insults landing like barbs. Yet his gaze strayed to Clara, resolve hardening against the silver onslaught. Candlelight flickered over the formal dinner table, crystal chiming. Georgiana dominated, her laughter brittle. Clara's little flood adventure? Charming, but duchesses host balls, not drag peasants from ditches. Clara gripped her fork, silent. Georgiana pressed. A companion wed a duke? The ton would howl. She's beneath even the maids. Alistair's glass slammed down. Enough! All eyes turned. Miss Penhaligon saved lives today, lives this estate depends on. Her courage shames your pettiness, Georgiana. Gasps rippled. But alliance, her father began. I will marry Clara Penhaligon. His voice rang clear, cold fire in his eyes. Not for schemes or silver, but worth. Georgiana paled, utensils clattering. Mrs. Ashford hid a smile. Clara's heart soared amid the stunned silence. Alistair's declaration sealing fate. Moonlight silvered the library as a footman hurried in. Letters clutched. Found in Miss Blackmore's luggage, your grace. Dropped careless. Alistair scanned the papers, fury dawning. Georgiana's secret engagement to a viscount, plots to discredit the Ravenwoods for leverage. Duplicity exposed. Georgiana cornered later, sputtering denials, but evidence crushed her. She fled with her parents amid scandal whispers. Alone with Clara amid leather-bound tomes, Alistair knelt. No schemes now. I choose you. Your heart, your fire. He offered a ring, simple gold. Marry me, Clara, as equals. Tears glistened. Yes. Their kiss sealed it, truth unbound. The manor sighed relief, love triumphing over letters and lies. If this story has captured your interest, please like the video and subscribe for more. And do tell me in the comments, where are you listening from today?